What's up, everyone? So if you don't know, I used to be a weightlifter. I used to lift weights as my primary form of training, and I really enjoyed it. It was a very, very important aspect of my life. However, I have not had a proper weightlifting session in over 4 years. I haven't had a gym membership in over 4 years, and that's because I switched over to calisthenics. And there's a bunch of reasons as to why I did that, but I switched to calisthenics and I've been practicing that for over 4 years now. And since doing that, I've seen a lot of changes and improvements. Firstly, I've seen significant changes or improvements to my physique. I really didn't have the goal of getting as big as possible. At least that's not my goal now. Instead, I just wanted to be lean, right? I just wanted to be lean. And so with calisthenics, I think because you're using your body weight, it's advantageous for you to be as lean as possible. And so I had like an added incentive to get super lean so that I'm carrying less body mass. And I want the body mass that I am carrying to be as much muscle as possible. And when you do that, you're able to move your body through space and lift your body up, overcome the force of gravity. It's much easier to do that when you're super lean. Calisthenics really improved my physique in that regard, but the other thing is I noticed changes with my life in general, my mindset. And so in this video, I want to talk about some of the life lessons that I've learned since switching to calisthenics. So a lot of the things I learned about myself and what I learned about life, I think, from calisthenics, I think can apply to so many other areas of life. And I want to share that with you guys. Before I go over some of the life lessons that I've learned, I'm going to get a quick workout in. So real quick, today's workout is going to be on the gymnastic rings. And if you guys don't have any, I highly recommend you get some, because rings will take your workout to a whole different level. Because when you're working on these, you don't have the same level of stabilization as you would if you were using the ground, or if you're using a pull-up bar, or anything like that. And so ever since I started training on rings, like my calisthenics game has leveled up significantly. I've built a lot more muscle. My stabilization, my balance, everything has gotten a lot better. And then another thing about rings is that they travel really well. You can pack them in whatever luggage you have, and you can just go to a park like what I'm doing right now. You can throw them on a tree, throw them on a bar, if you're in a parking garage or something like that. So rings, they really help with your physique. They help level up your training, but they also are super portable. It helps you with staying consistent and all of that stuff, especially if you struggle with it. All right, so workout completed. You might notice that today was a pull day for me. So just pulling movements, targeting mainly my back, my biceps, a little bit of core. But you'll also notice that I threw in a leg workout at the end. And that's because I don't have dedicated leg days. I'm not a big fan of frying my nervous system. I'm not convinced that that's the best thing to do in terms of overall health, for immune health and things like that. So what I like to do is incorporate 1 to 2 leg workouts at the end of every training session that I have. And I train every day. So I'm training legs every day, but I'm never doing a dedicated, or I'm rarely doing a dedicated leg workout. Anyway, so I'm gonna head back to the crib. And before I talk about the life lessons that I learned through calisthenics, I'm gonna make some breakfast real quick. It's like 2 in the afternoon here, but it's all good. So I'm just gonna make a really big meal, probably make it the only meal of the day for today. Sometimes I do 1 meal a day, sometimes 2 meals a day. But yeah, so let's head to the crib, let's make some breakfast, and then we'll talk about the life lessons that I learned from 4 years of training calisthenics. All right, so I just finished cooking breakfast and something really funny happened. So I just moved to this new country, so I'm not used to everything here. And I bought what I thought was bacon, like just regular strips of bacon like you would find in the US. And it turned out to be like this huge, just like slab of meat. So I was like trying to cut it and trying to cook it, and I just wasn't really doing it right, and I ended up setting off the fire alarm. So that was cool. But yeah, here we go. So I pretty much eat some form of a meal like this every day. So we've got some eggs cooked with some form of cheese. In this case, I have feta cheese, always some sort of fruit, some dark chocolate, bacon, or some other form of meat, as well as some pistachios, because I just love pistachios. So I'm gonna finish this breakfast and then we will finish our conversation. All right, so let's talk about what 4+ years of training calisthenics has taught me about life. So I'm gonna give you 5 life lessons here. And the first life lesson is that greatness must be built on a solid foundation. So in calisthenics, all of the fancy moves that you see, like the 90-degree push-ups, the handstand push-ups, the front levers, all of that stuff is impossible to achieve without first doing a bunch of pull-ups, a bunch of push-ups, a bunch of things that are not nearly as exciting, but are fundamental to building like a foundational skill set that you can then stack additional skills on top of. And I say this because in life, I think that we have a lot of grand aspirations. We have a lot of ambitions that are very lofty. And oftentimes we chase after those ambitions and we skip over the process of building that foundation. We skip over the basics. And so 2 examples come to mind here. Like when people are trying to lose weight, they're trying to get fit, trying to get in a better shape. A lot of times people will go on crash diets, or they'll go into like an eating program that they can't sustain. They'll go into a workout and training program that they can't sustain. So they may lose weight, and they may lose weight quickly, but it's unsustainable. And I think the stats are that most people who do programs, they actually lose weight and then gain it all back, plus more, because they didn't build that solid foundation, right? So if somebody instead focused on just getting their lifestyle habits right, getting their eating habits right, getting their training habits right in a sustainable way, it may take longer to reach that goal, but it's a goal that will sustain. They're less likely to resort back to the bad habits that got them there in the first place. And the same goes for business. When you start a business, it's tempting to focus on the sexy aspects of that business. You know, selling things, working with customers, all of that stuff. But all successful businesses must have a solid foundation of business processes, like effective business processes that business can operate on top of. So no matter how good your product is, how effective your marketing is, if you don't have good business processes on the back end, you're not going to be in business for long. Okay, so yeah, that's the first lesson, which is that you have to focus on building the fundamental layer, focusing on the basics before you level up and focus on those more aspirational goals. Now, the second life lesson that calisthenics has taught me is that as humans, we have this tendency to overestimate what we're capable of accomplishing in the short run while grossly underestimating what we're capable of accomplishing in the long term. In calisthenics, when I first tried to do like the front levers and all of that stuff, I was humbled very, very quickly. I realized that I was nowhere near as capable as I thought I may have been. And so what that shows is that my expectations were way too high starting off. Now, fast forward 4 years later, and I can now do moves that I never thought I would do. Like moves that never were part of my plan. And so, yeah, I think that this just goes to show that in the short term, we probably set our expectations way too high. In the long term, we grossly underestimate what we're capable of doing. And so anywhere else in life, whether it's from a financial standpoint, a health standpoint, a knowledge standpoint, whatever it is, I now go into those new endeavors knowing that I'm probably not going to feel like I'm not making much progress. I'm going to feel like I'm not very capable in the very beginning. But if I just stick with it consistently over the long run, I'm going to impress myself. And I'm going to be way more capable and way more competent than I ever believed that I could be. All right, so the third lesson is that people give up far too early in the process. So I have different people tell me that they want to start calisthenics. They want to incorporate that into their training regimen. And so when they try different moves for the first time and they fail miserably, they pretty much tell themselves, "Oh, I'm not cut out for this. This is way too difficult." And they never try again. Like they fail the first time and never get back to trying again. When in reality, you fail and then you try again and again and again and again, and then you will eventually start getting better. And so I think this kind of ties back to the previous lessons, like underestimating yourself in the long term and all of that stuff. So it's not that people are incapable of accomplishing things. It's not that people are just, not gifted enough to accomplish things. They are. However, they give up way too early before they even know what they're actually capable of. So I see it in calisthenics. And so with other things in life, like I'm working on building a business right now, and there's some other things that I'm trying to accomplish. And just because the feedback may be not as positive as I anticipate in the beginning, just because I fail early on, doesn't necessarily mean that I should write myself off right now. I need to give it time, give myself time to grow and progress. Okay. Now, this leads me to the fourth life lesson that I learned, which is that skills and ability is more so a function of practice than it is a function of talent. So a lot of people, when they see me doing calisthenics, they just assume that I'm gifted. They assume that I just have some sort of ability that they don't have, like a natural ability. And that's just not true. I was very bad at calisthenics when I first started off. What people don't see is the hours and hours and hours of training and falling and failing that I put in order to do certain movements. And so on Instagram, on social media, I'll post the end result more often than not. And so you see me doing handstand push-ups and things like that, but you don't see all the work that was put in. And, I think that that goes for anybody who has skills in anything, like whether it's public speaking, whether it's being a professional athlete, being a musician, being a business person. Like, obviously, there's all kinds of skilled people in this world, and people who are at the top, or people who are at least better than the majority of the population in that thing. We can't discredit the fact that those people, more likely than not, put in a lot of practice. They put in a lot of reps in order to get to where they're going. So if you have anything that you're trying to accomplish for yourself, and this is the same, for me, I need to give myself this advice as well. You can't assume that it takes to be naturally gifted in order to do this thing, right? Like, you try it, you realize, hey, I'm not that good at it. You can't just write yourself off. You need to give yourself the repetitions and put in the practice. And that is where the greatness is eventually going to come from. Okay? The last life lesson that I have here is that when you do put in the reps, when you do practice, when you do build that foundational skill set, right? You work on the basics. When you don't give up on yourself, you start to show results. Over time, you start to get good at something. And when people see that you're really good at something, that you're highly skilled, they respect it. And the reason that they respect it is because there are certain things in life that you can't fake. It communicates to people that you're dedicated, that you're focused, that you're disciplined, that you put in work in order to do something that most people are not able to do. So in a sense, it is like a manifestation of actions speaking louder than words, or actions speaking for themselves, rather. And the respect that you get from being able to do really difficult things, high skilled tasks, whether it's calisthenics or anything else in life, that respect can take you a long way. It's much better to have that kind of respect from people than to not have it. So what I've learned is that the way that I get respect from people from the calisthenics that I do, I want that to translate to other areas of my life. Like, when I'm just living my life, I want people to look at me and just know that I carry myself in a certain way. And so they automatically treat me a certain way. They automatically respect me, because of what they see and what they know about me, because my lifestyle speaks for itself. I don't have to go tell people and try to market myself and convince people that I'm living a certain kind of way or that I am a certain kind of person. So I like to live my life in a certain way that makes people convince themselves that I am a certain caliber of person, rather than me trying to convince them that I'm a certain caliber of person. When you live your life in this way, I think much more opportunity comes to you. Like, you develop more of an attractive force. Like, people want to be a part of your life. People become drawn to you. So I think of, like, getting a job. It's way better for people to see that you bring value to the table, for it to be, like, apparently evident that you will add value to a company, and have those people come to you and ask you to join their company, right? Instead of having to go through the normal process of submitting an application, a resume, and you have interviews, and you're using words to try to convince them as to why they should hire you. Instead, when you just go out and take actions and you produce things and you do things that, when people look, it's abundantly clear that you put in the work, and you don't have to use any words to make a convincing argument for yourself, then you're gonna have a much easier time getting jobs and getting better opportunities, employment opportunities, or maybe with dating as well. right? Like it's probably much better to have people come to you, people who want to date you, as opposed to you going out trying to convince other people why they should give you an opportunity. When it's the other way around, life is just a whole lot better. And so, yeah, that's another thing that calisthenics taught me. When it's very clear that you've put in work, that you have certain skills, you have certain ability, that you have discipline, you have knowledge and all of that stuff, when it's very clear to the point where you don't even have to tell people that you have all of these things, then life gets way easier and way more opportunity comes your way. And that enables you to create a life that is aligned with your own purpose, your values, right? You don't have to live your life in accordance with other people. It gives you more autonomy, and you can navigate through life in a much better way when you command that sort of respect. All right, so those are 5 life lessons that calisthenics taught me. I've learned plenty more life lessons beyond that, but I just wanted to share these 5 with you today. And yeah, hopefully you find that helpful. If you did, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and until next time, always remember to get up, get out, and get after it. Peace.